Hello future self, and welcome back to your own video. I don't know how I'm gonna be doing the intros because I don't know, but probably no one's gonna watch these, so if I'm gonna be the only one watching it, then I'll do the intro like that. But today we are going to talk about me getting diagnosed with PCOS and just thoughts on that while I get ready for the day. So I got diagnosed with PCOS 2 months ago, and honestly, it's been very overwhelming, and I don't know, just lots of things. I always knew that there might be a chance that I had PCOS because I have family history of it. My grandma has it and my aunt has it. And so I just kind of knew that there would probably be a higher chance. My mom doesn't have it though, so I was kind of on the hopeful side of things just for literally my whole life. And plus I didn't have any outward symptoms of PCOS. Like I don't have like excess hair growth or excess weight gain or like hormonal acne or anything like that. Like I don't have a lot of the outward symptoms. So going into the appointment, I was thinking, oh, there's no way I have it. There's a possibility, but like in your brain, you think you don't have it because of all of the outward symptoms. And I had no idea about any of the inward symptoms, like insulin resistance and all of that stuff. I guess I should probably start in the beginning with why I even made the appointment, which was I'm 22 and I had never gotten my pap smear yet, and I was dreading making the appointment because of, my past childhood trauma that I have had. It's a very traumatizing thing for me to do. And it was absolutely awful, and I wanted to die. But that's besides the point. So I made the appointment, canceled it a few times, remade it, canceled it a few times, remade it. Well, I finally ended up going and got through the horrible, traumatizing pap smear. And then we talked about how I mentioned, like, oh, I think I really want to get tested for PCOS because I have family history of it, and I really want to know now while I'm young so I can prepare myself in the future when I want to have kids and stuff like that, because that's like kind of like a big thing with PCOS is infertility and stuff like that. So I wanted to know, and I got a bunch of lab stuff done. Like, I don't know, I think she took like 6 vials of blood for me and like just tested a bunch of my hormones and progesterone and my thyroid and stuff like that. And she's like, when she's looking at me, and she's like, yeah, like, oh, I highly doubt you have PCOS. Like, you have no outward symptoms and you seem like a really healthy girl, and I don't think you have it, and all of this stuff. And so, that was kind of like, oh, putting me in the wrong direction. Like, oh, like, there's no way I have it. Like, she's looking at me and she's looking at my chart and all this stuff, and like, I don't have like the abdominal pain, which is coming from like the cysts on your ovaries. Like, and at the time I didn't really know like what abdominal pain I should be looking for with like, cysts on your ovaries. Because like, how am I supposed to know the difference between regular cramping from a normal woman or cysts on your ovary? How am I supposed to know? So I was just like really in the dark about a lot of things, and that was like a lot for me. But she was having me look the other direction and be like, oh no, you don't have it. So I was feeling okay after the appointment. I mean, I wasn't feeling great because I had to do the stupid pap smear. So the day after the appointment, I was on call, so I had to stay at my sister's house because I have to be within range of the hospital. Oops. I had to be within range of the hospital so that I can get to the hospital quick enough for surgery. And I didn't want to look on my chart because, I don't know, doctors don't like how my chart, like all the lab stuff goes to us right away. Because you know, we see the results, we look at it, and then, you know, we're freaking out because they're like abnormal or something like that, and then we're texting the doctor when the doctor hasn't even had time to look at the chart. And I know all that because I work with doctors every day, and that's what they say they hate about my chart and stuff. And well, I got my first lab result in that night of being on call, and it was like at like 4 o'clock, and I was fine. Like, I was happy I was being on call, and then I got the lab result, and it was fine. It came back, you know, in the normal range, and then everything like started trickling in, labs after labs. It was like 8 of them or something like that, and then 2 of them came back abnormal. And then, of course, you know, you fall into that rabbit hole of looking stuff up, looking up what progesterone means and what that does to your body and what that hormone is for and all of that. And I was laying downstairs because my sister was gone and it was just Tyler at the house. And I get these bad lab results, looking bad stuff up, realizing that, oh my gosh, I have PCOS. My hormones are out of balance, 2 of them for sure. And one of them is the one that makes your body ovulate, and which is progesterone. And that's like, my progesterone levels were in the levels of a woman that is going through menopause. That's how low it was. And my testosterone was high, which that freaking sucks. You know, like, as a woman, you're like, you don't want high testosterone, and then you figure out you have high testosterone. It's just like really, I don't even know the word for it, but it's like, it's horrible. It's a horrible feeling to experience, and I don't wish that upon anyone. And so I get these results, and I'm sitting downstairs in the basement all by myself. This is no shame on Tyler or anything. I wouldn't want to talk about it to him in any way. And I'm just bawling my eyes out. Literally that whole night, I was just bawling my eyes out. I have PCOS. I FaceTime Hunter, and like I tell him about it, and I'm just bawling my eyes out, and he's like trying to make me feel better, but it's not working, obviously, because, you know, you're not just gonna feel better after finding out that diagnosis, and, you know, you're the person that you just went and gone to see and said that you probably don't have it, and then all of that just switches in 2 minutes of everything. Like, you go through your whole life thinking, oh, I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it, and then that all changes so fast. And it was literally like one of the worst days of my life. Like, I'm thinking, like, I'm never gonna have kids ever. I'm never, because my aunt has had a really rough time with PCOS, and she hasn't been able to conceive. And I'm just like thinking about every horrible thing that could ever happen and all of this stuff. So I bawled my eyes out. I called into work the next day. No, I called into work the day I had my pap smear, because that was just traumatizing for me, and I was gonna like bail if I went to work. So that's the day I called into work. But so the next day, I thankfully did not get called in that night, because I don't know if I would have been able to keep it together, like during the surgeries or whatever. So thankfully I did not get called in. But next day at work, I really should have called in that day, but I already called in the day of my pap smear. So I was like, I literally cannot call in. So, because I don't really call in for no reason, like, ever. And I was already feeling guilty for calling in, you know, the day of my pap smear, even though I, like, had every right to, because of how horrible that was for me. So I was like, okay, I can't call in. So I put no makeup on. I cried the whole way to work. Like, it was horrible. I'm like, how am I going to keep it together this whole day when I'm just around, like, happy people, like, getting pregnant 24/7? Like, it was just horrible. I'm thinking of everything bad. And of course, like, as soon as I get to work and, like, I start seeing people, I just, like, break down, bawling my eyes out. And 2 of my coworkers were like, one of them was a traveler, and she was, like, hugging me, and she's like, everything will be all right. And then I didn't say anything. She just kind of, like, side hugged me and then left. And so I kind of pull myself together before more people get to work because I always get there super early. So I kind of pull myself together. Then one of my other coworkers gets there, Alicia, and then she sees me with like beady red eyes, and then she's like, comes and gives me a hug, and I'm like trying not to cry again. And it was just like horrible experience. Thankfully, I was like floating that day, or I was laser nursed that day, so I didn't really have to do anything, and I was in a room with Alicia and Abby the whole day, which are my 2 work buddies. So I was with them in OR1 the whole day, bawling my eyes out, talking to them, telling them what happened, and they're trying to make me feel better, and it's just like obviously not working. Like it did a little bit, but everyone, when you just find out like a horrible diagnosis like this, like it's a chronic illness that you're gonna have forever, and you tell people and then they just like try to be so positive about it, like, and I'm not shaming anyone for this. They're like, I'm like saying like I'm never gonna be able to have like my own kids and stuff like that, and it's gonna be so hard for me to get pregnant, like I'm gonna have to do so much work, and you know, they're trying to be so positive about it, but like that's not what you want to hear when you're like, I don't know, just finding out a diagnosis. It's like you're such in a negative space, and like you're in a bubble, right? And no one, anything that anyone says is gonna crack through that bubble in the first few days, maybe even a week of you finding out something like this. So it's just like horrible. So yeah, people like can try to make you feel better, but like that whole time it just was not working. And you know, I was on eggshells all day of trying not to cry and thinking of literally the worst, which I mean, that's what you would do after finding out something like this, which is totally normal. After that whole day, I mean, I guess I don't really need to talk about like the day anymore because obviously you can tell how that went. Absolutely horrible, and that's how like the next few days kind of went too. After all of the lab results came in, she was kind of like responding to them like as they came in and like telling me what they meant and everything, and she's like, yeah, we should probably come in and do a follow-up appointment so I can like ask questions and stuff like that. And so I made another follow-up appointment, and Hunter wasn't going to be able to be there for that one because obviously like he already took off, you know, some work to go to the first one, so he wasn't able to do it for the second one too. So I had my sister come with me and basically went there for support. So I think the follow-up appointment was like, I don't know, I think it was like a Friday. I think it was like that Friday or whatever after work. And so I'm like looking up as much stuff as I can, trying to literally find out everything possible about PCOS and everything that like I can think of to try and like ask questions that would be pertaining to me. And so I write them down on my notes app, and when I get there, like she just like kind of talks to me and she's like, oh, like I'm surprised you're back, you know. And I'm like, me too, because of how the pap smear went and stuff like that. And so like already going in there, like I immediately want to cry my eyes out, but like I kept it together, surprisingly. So I went there and I asked all these questions, and you know, she tells me all of these things, and you know, we talk about what the next steps are, and I was given 2 options, and I was not happy with them, clearly. Who would be? Because what these options are literally insane, and I'll like kind of talk about them. And like, I'm not a medical professional around PCOS. Like, I am a medical professional with CSD, but not PCOS. So anything I say, like, don't take for truth. Like, this is what I heard and this is what I've learned. It's may or may not be true for you or whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. So she tells me like all of these options of what I can do, and it leads down to I can either A, go back on birth control, which I had been off for a year, and I was like, okay, like I really don't want to go back on because, you know, my period was getting really messed up when I was on it. Like, it was fine for the first 4 years. Everything seemed normal, And then the last year, everything was going wonky on birth control. So I didn't really want to go back on birth control because, I don't know, there's like, right now there's such a negative like aura around birth control, and like everyone saying like, oh, I was on birth control for 10 years and now I can't get pregnant, and like all this infertility issues going around about it. And I was like, well, I really want to get off of it, because that's why I got off of it, because like everyone was talking about how they were on birth control for so long and now they can't even get pregnant, and all these things were being messed up. And I know we don't know a lot about like people's backstories and everything, so I was just like, I really don't want to go back on birth control. So she said birth control, or we need to get you pregnant and get you on medication or drugs. So it's either birth control or a different drug of like progesterone to try and get you pregnant. She's like, if you want to get pregnant, or birth control. Those were my only two options. And I was like, I don't like that. Like, why does it have to be one drug or the other? Why isn't there like no natural way to fix this? And when I was looking up PCOS, and I like saw people like, oh, you can reverse your PCOS. I went through like diet, exercise, and all of this, and I kind of brought that up to her. I was like, why can't there be like a natural method? Like, what about this, and this? And she's like, oh, well, yeah, you can do it, but it's really hard. And I'm like, well, why can't I at least try the natural way first? And she's like, oh, yeah, you can, but like if it fails, then you have a higher chance of getting cervical cancer. Was it cervical cancer or uterine cancer? Some sort of cancer down there. And I was like, okay, well, why can't I at least try? I've been on birth control for literally like, I've had my period maybe 6 years out of my life, and I've been on birth control 5 years. No, it'd be 7 years. I've been having my period for 7 years of my life. I've been on birth control for 5. And the first year I got my period, I was on birth control. And the last year I was on my period, I didn't have birth control. So that's only 2 years out of my life where I haven't been on a drug with my period. So why can't I try the natural method, not have to worry about getting cancer? And so I was kind of like talking about that with her. And so the things, that's kind of like the third option that I kind of like brought up to her, but she only gave me 2 to begin with. And it was birth control, progesterone, like getting you pregnant, like come back if you want to get pregnant. And then the third option of me talking about going the natural way. So the natural way is, and I'm not gonna lie, it is very hard. It doesn't fit into society's norms at all. Like, yeah, you can make it work, but like it's really hard. And that is working out 5 days a week. 3 of the days being weight training. Like, you want to move some weights. And like, I'm not talking about like, when I say workout, I mean like going on 30-minute walks after you eat. And like I don't want to get into depth about like everything, but like just like the basics of it. But like just like the basics of it, like, is working out 5 days a week, 3 days a week, weight training, trying to cut out all preservatives in your food, and like, what was the other one? And like taking like inositol or Vasitol or whatever, and like supplements and stuff like that. And let me tell you, and like, you want to try to get like 30 grams of protein in every single meal you eat, and then you want to pair carbs with, you know, healthy fibers and protein and all of this stuff like that you have to go so into depth for. Like, first of all, just like the basics of me like explaining stuff, like just the part where I'm talking about eating 30 grams of protein for every meal, like when I started to try to do that, it's literally so hard. You feel so full and gross. Like, I didn't want to eat like any snacks, which is great, but like trying to find foods that have high protein, no preservatives in them, is literally impossible. And I know like I just started this process, so like I know like it will get better, but like doing all that is like really hard. And like, I know. So like, that's kind of like what she said and like what I looked up. And so that is the route I chose. And I said, well, let me just do this for a few months and see how it goes. So that's the option I chose. So kind of like fast forward a little bit, or not fast forward, I guess. I went with that healthy route, and I was really good for the first few, weeks. But obviously, like, it's really hard. Like, trying to not eat any preservatives is literally the hardest thing, like, anyone can do. I know, like, a lot of people are like, oh, like, let's just be healthy and, like, eat, like, these healthy, like, protein shakes and all this stuff. Well, 95% of those protein shakes that you're drinking have preservatives in them. So it's like not even just eating healthy, it's eating healthy plus another thing, which is hard. And, so I got this little app and I started scanning everything, and I literally cleaned out my pantry of everything that I cannot have, and I kept everything that Hunter wanted still, so that he could eat whatever he wanted. And I gave all the rest to my parents. And so I tried that out. I started taking Ovasitol and like 4 other supplements that I should be taking. I started going on walks. I started not eating fast food literally ever. And if I did, I would get like the healthiest thing I could on the menu. Healthiest, which probably was still bad because it probably still had preservatives, but like, literally, what am I supposed to do when we go out to eat as, like, a family, or we have all these plans? Like, I literally bring you my own food? Like, no, that's not gonna happen. So, obviously, like, I did not, after, like, the first month, I, like, really slacked off, and I started eating fast food more, and all of this stuff, but, like, I was still trying to be healthy when I could. Like, I stopped like going down to the cafeteria when I could, and I like started bringing my own lunches, and I found these little healthy choice frozen meals that I could bring that passed my requirements or whatever. My normal cycle is 87 days long, or like in that range of like literally so abnormal, and your cycle is supposed to be like 30 days. Like you're supposed to get your period every month, and I was getting it like every 3 months. And after like doing all of this like healthy cutting out and all this stuff, I got my cycle down to 47 days. And obviously, like, this is only like my first cycle being like healthy and stuff, and I didn't even do the best, and it still got it down to 47 days. But I'm like really hoping like it stays at 47 and it's just not like a fluke. But like getting it down to 47 days, I like literally wanted to cry, because like it's kind of a big deal, like a really big deal. I was really happy about it, and I'm trying not to be like too over the moon excited about it, because I don't know if it's just a fluke or something, but things are looking up, kind of. It's still literally insanely hard to do, and I have a very, very long road ahead of me, literally my whole life, of trying to reverse my PCOS and trying to do all these healthy things. And it is very hard because I, for one, hate going to the gym more than anything in my entire life. It is so boring, but I'm going to try to pretend that I enjoy going to the gym and enjoy working out and seeing if that works. And if it does, then that's good. If it doesn't, then that really sucks. So yeah, that was kind of like my journey of getting diagnosed with PCOS and how I reacted and what I have been doing. And obviously I didn't go into depth of everything that I really needed to do and stuff like that, but I can. But like all the information is so different. Like some people like say like, oh, no dairy or sugar or gluten. But then like another like person says, oh, you can have all those things, you just have to like watch this. And like, so I'm still really, I think, like uneducated about it all still. So I think I just need to kind of like learn more about it and really find out what works for me. And I might bring you guys along on my journey with it. I might not, I don't know. But yeah, I am getting married in 2 months and 2 months and some days. And thankfully Hunter is very supportive about it all, and he's not concerned at all, which was something I was really worried about because, you know, might not ever be able to give him children, but he's indifferent about that. So very thankful about that. So yeah, that was kind of like my journey. If anyone has any questions or anything they think I should do, or if they have it, just let me know. And yeah, so thanks for listening to my story, and I'll maybe see you guys back.